The rain hammered down like bullets on that October night. In a forgotten corner of the city, Mary Brown stood in her cramped apartment, hands shaking as she counted the last of her money. $43. That was all that separated her 5-year-old daughter Amara from hunger and the streets. Suddenly, a sound cut through the storm, a wet, desperate gurgling from the alley below. Mary froze. She knew that sound. Someone was dying. She pulled back the stained curtain and saw him. A man drowning in his own blood, 3 dark holes punched through his torso, tattoos covering his arms like war paint. She should have looked away. Should have locked the door. But something in his dying eyes, that hollow, pleading look, mirrored every moment she had begged for help and been ignored. Before we dive deeper into Mary's nightmare, welcome to the channel. If you love intense, edge-of-your-seat stories like this one, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Drop a comment below and let me know where you're watching from. I love hearing from you all around the world. Your support means everything, so let's get into this story that will leave you breathless. Mary made a choice that would shatter her world. She had no idea that by morning 1,500 roaring motorcycles would surround her home, turning her act of mercy into a deadly hostage crisis that would force her to choose between survival and sacrifice. Before we dive in, let us know where you're watching from. And subscribe, because I promise you, this story will keep you on the edge of your seat until the very last word. The digital clock blinked 2:17 a.m. when Mary Brown triple-locked her apartment door, her fingers still trembling from the 12-hour shift at the underground clinic. She moved silently through the darkness, checking on Amara sleeping peacefully in the corner bedroom, clutching her worn stuffed rabbit. Mary's heart clenched. Her baby girl deserved so much more than this. At 34 years old, Mary looked a decade older. The bruises from her ex-husband had faded from her skin 3 years ago, but the scars on her soul remained raw and bleeding. Her nursing license, the one thing that could have saved them, had been stripped away after Devon reported her for theft out of pure spite. Now she existed in the shadows, an unlicensed nurse working illegal shifts, invisible and expendable in a world that had decided she didn't matter. She counted the money again. $43. 2 weeks until the next shift. Amara needed her asthma medication. The eviction notice screamed from the kitchen counter in bold red letters. Then she heard it, a wet, choking scream from the alley behind the building. Mary's body went cold. She knew she should ignore it. In this neighborhood, curiosity got you killed. But something pulled her to the window. Through the rain-streaked glass, she saw a man convulsing in a spreading pool of blood, his chest torn apart by bullet wounds. His eyes found hers, desperate, hollow, dying. Those eyes looked exactly like hers had 3 years ago when she'd begged Devon to stop and no one came. Mary grabbed her medical bag and made a decision that would destroy everything she knew about safety and survival. Mary's fingers trembled as she sorted through the stack of bills scattered across her kitchen table. The eviction notice sat on top, bold red letters screaming "Final warning, 7 days." Beneath it, Amara's medical bills from the emergency room visit last month. $3,847 for an asthma attack that had nearly stopped her baby's breathing. Mary pressed her palms against her eyes, fighting back tears she couldn't afford to shed. The illegal clinic had paid her in cash tonight. $200 for 12 hours of stitching up gunshot wounds and overdoses in a basement that reeked of bleach and desperation. It wasn't enough. It was never enough. She pushed herself up, every muscle screaming exhaustion, and tiptoed to Amara's room. Her daughter slept peacefully, tiny chest rising and falling, clutching the stuffed rabbit that had seen better days. Mary leaned down, pressing a kiss to her forehead, breathing in that sweet baby smell that made every nightmare worthwhile. "I'll fix this," she whispered. "I promise." The scream from the alley cut through the night like a blade. Mary froze. That wet, gurgling sound, she knew it too well. Someone was dying. She moved to the window, every instinct screaming at her to look away, to stay invisible like she'd learned to do. But something pulled her forward. Through the rain-streaked glass, she saw him collapsed against the dumpster. A man, Asian, his torso shredded by 3 dark holes that pumped blood with each weakening heartbeat. Tattoos covered his arms like ancient artwork. His eyes found hers through the darkness, desperate and fading. Mary's breath caught. Those eyes looked exactly like hers had 3 years ago, begging Devon to stop, begging anyone to help while the world walked past. She grabbed her medical bag and ran. The man was barely conscious when she reached him, his skin cold and clammy. "Stay with me," Mary commanded, her nurse training overriding terror. But she couldn't work here, too exposed. She looked up at her apartment, then at Amara's window. Mary made her choice in seconds. She sprinted upstairs, scooped sleeping Amara into her arms, and rushed to Mrs. Chen's apartment 2 doors down. The elderly Korean woman opened immediately, eyes widening. "Emergency," Harry breathed. "Please, just for tonight." Mrs. Chen took Amara without question, the bond of single mothers who understood survival. Mary ran back down, adrenaline masking her fear as she dragged the stranger's dead weight up the stairs, his blood painting a trail she'd have to clean. She kicked her door shut and laid him on her kitchen floor under the harsh fluorescent light. 3 bullets. 2 through-and-throughs in his shoulder and side. 1 lodged near his lung. Mary worked with desperate precision, her hands steady even as her mind screamed danger. She cut away his blood-soaked shirt, extracted the bullet with forceps that shook, stitched the torn flesh while he drifted in and out of consciousness. His hand suddenly gripped hers, not violently but with surprising gentleness. His eyes opened, dark and infinite, locking onto hers with an intensity that stole her breath. He whispered something in Korean, words she couldn't understand but felt in her bones. "Danger. Both." His English was broken, desperate. "They'll come." Then his eyes rolled back and he went limp. Mary finished the sutures as dawn crept through her window, every nerve screaming that she'd just destroyed her life. She was hiding the bloody towels when she heard it, a distant rumble growing louder. Motorcycles. Hundreds of them. Her phone was in her hand before conscious thought. "Mrs. Chen, keep Amara there. Lock everything. Don't open the door for anyone." The rumble became thunder, shaking her walls. They were here. The rumble started as a distant thunder, then grew into an earthquake that shook the walls. Mary's eyes snapped open at dawn to a sound that turned her blood to ice. Hundreds, maybe thousands of motorcycle engines converging on her building like a mechanized army. She bolted upright, her first thought screaming through her panic. Amara. Then she saw the empty bed where Jung had been. The window gaped open, shattered glass glittering on the floor like broken teeth. A blood trail led to the sill and disappeared into the gray morning. He was gone. Mary lunged for the door, survival instinct overriding everything else. She had to get to Mrs. Chen's apartment, had to protect Amara, had to run. The door exploded inward before her hand touched the knob. 6 massive men in leather vests stormed inside like a tactical unit, their jackets screaming Hell's Angels, in blood-red letters across skulls and crossbones. The largest one, a mountain of scar tissue and rage with a shaved head and eyes like ice, grabbed Mary by the throat and slammed her against the wall so hard her vision sparked white. "Where is he?" Axel's voice was gravel and gasoline, his breath hot against her face. His hand tightened, crushing her windpipe. "I don't," Mary choked out, clawing at his massive forearm. He threw her to the floor like a rag doll. 2 enforcers yanked her up instantly, zip-tying her wrists behind her back with brutal efficiency. Axel surveyed the apartment. The medical supplies scattered everywhere, the blood-soaked towels stuffed in the trash, the empty bed by the shattered window. "You hit him." Axel crouched down, grabbing Mary's chin with crushing force, forcing her to meet his dead eyes. "You patched him up. Where did they take him?" "I don't know what you're talking about." Mary's voice cracked, genuine terror flooding through her. "Someone broke in, took him through the window. I woke up and he was gone." Axel backhanded her across the face. Pain exploded through her jaw, copper flooding her mouth. She tasted blood. "Don't lie to me." He pulled a knife from his belt, the blade catching the weak morning light. "Jung. Korean Mafia scum. You're his woman, aren't you? His whore." "I'm a nurse." Mary spat blood onto the floor, defiance rising through her fear. "He was dying in the alley. I didn't know who he was." "Bullshit." Axel pressed the blade against her throat, just hard enough to break skin. A thin line of warmth trickled down her neck. "Where are his operations? His warehouses? His safe houses?" "I don't know." Tears streamed down Mary's face, but her voice stayed steady. Years of surviving Devon had taught her this: show fear but never break. "I pulled 3 bullets out of a stranger. That's all I know." Axel studied her face, searching for lies. Then his expression shifted into something more sinister. You got a kid? Mary's heart stopped. Every muscle in her body locked rigid. Yeah, I can see it. Axel smiled, a predator scenting weakness. Single mom working illegal shifts, barely scraping by. Where is she? Bedroom? Neighbor's place. She's not here. The lie came smooth and fast, muscle memory from protecting Amara from Devon. She's with my sister. 2 states away. Has been for months. You're lying. Check the apartment. Mary screamed, rage overtaking fear. Go ahead. Tear it apart. She's not here because I can't afford to keep her here. In Mrs. Chen's apartment 2 doors down, the elderly woman pressed her hand over Amara's mouth as the little girl stirred awake. Through the thin walls, they could hear Mary's screams, the sound of furniture being overturned, heavy boots stomping through rooms. Axel's enforcer returned from searching the apartment, shaking his head. No kid. Just 1 bedroom, 1 bed. Axel grabbed Mary's hair, yanking her head back violently. You saved the man who killed my brother. Tommy was 23 years old when Jung put 2 bullets in his skull over a territory dispute in Koreatown. You hear me? You saved a monster. Mary's breath caught. This wasn't just rival gangs. This was blood vendetta. So here's what's going to happen, Axel whispered, his knife tracing down her cheek. You're going to tell me everything Jung said. Every word. Every location. Or I'm going to find that little girl of yours, and you're going to watch her suffer for what you did. The rumble of engines outside suddenly changed pitch. New vehicles arriving, different sound. Deeper. More controlled. Sleek black SUVs. Axel's head snapped toward the window. What the? The Hells Angels walkie-talkies erupted in panicked voices. We got company. Multiple vehicles, they're armed. Then the first gunshot shattered the morning, and Mary's world exploded into chaos. Minho's phone vibrated at 5:47 a.m. with the message that stopped his heart. Jung's signal lost. Last ping, 1847 Riverside, apartment 3B. He stared at the coordinates, his jaw clenching so hard his molars ached. Jung Tae-sik didn't just disappear. The dragon didn't fall silent unless he was bleeding out or already dead. Minho had served under Jung for 8 years, had taken bullets meant for him, had built an empire beside him brick by bloody brick. And now some Hells Angels trash thought they could erase his brother without consequence. Mobilize everyone, Minho ordered, his voice ice over steel. Full tactical. I want 40 vehicles, every soldier armed and ready. We move in 10 minutes. The Korean Mafia moved like a shadow army, sleek black SUVs rolling through the dawn streets in perfect formation, tinted windows concealing the arsenal inside. Minho sat in the lead vehicle, thermal imaging equipment already scanning the target building 3 blocks out. His second-in-command, Jean, leaned forward from the back seat. We're getting heavy signatures, Jean reported, fingers flying across the tablet. Motorcycles everywhere. At least 200 bodies surrounding the building. Hells Angels colors. Minho's lips curled into something predatory. Good. They gathered for the slaughter. The SUVs rounded the corner and the scene materialized like a war zone. Hundreds of motorcycles creating a steel perimeter, leather-clad enforcers armed with bats, chains, and pistols. They turned as one when the black vehicles appeared, hands moving to weapons. Minho stepped out slowly, deliberately, his custom suit immaculate despite the tension crackling through the air. Behind him, 40 car doors opened in synchronized precision. Soldiers emerged, assault rifles held with professional calm, forming a wall of lethal grace that made the Angels street thugs look like angry children. Where is Jung Tae-sik? Minho's voice cut through the morning like a blade. Axel pushed through his men, face twisted with rage. You got some nerve rolling up here, Kim? I'll ask once more. Minho's hand rested casually on his pistol. Where is Jung? Dead if he's lucky, Axel spat. And you're next if you don't turn around. Jin's voice interrupted from the SUV. Sir, thermal's picking up something. Apartment 3B, multiple heat signatures, one smaller, restrained position. Minho's eyes narrowed. He pulled out his phone, accessing Jung's last call log. The number that had called him 3 hours before he disappeared, right before the ambush. A local number. He ran it through their database. Mary Brown. Single mother. Former nurse. Thrives in 3B. Who's in that apartment? Minho demanded. Axel's smirk confirmed everything. Just some whore who thought she could hide your boss. Minho's expression went arctic. He didn't know who Mary Brown was, didn't care about her story. But if she was the last person with Young, she held the answers. And these animals had her trapped inside. He raised his hand. 40 rifles locked and loaded in perfect unison. Breach protocol, Minho commanded. Extract the woman. Kill anyone who stops you. In Mrs. Chen's apartment, the elderly woman's hands shook as she dialed Mary's number, watching the armies collide below. The phone rang once. Twice. Inside 3B, Mary's phone buzzed in her pocket, but zip-tied and surrounded by angels, she couldn't move. The first gunshot cracked like thunder. Then the world exploded into war. The world shattered into violence so sudden and complete that Mary's mind went blank with pure survival instinct. Gunfire erupted like a symphony of death. Automatic rifles tearing through walls, pistols barking in rapid succession, glass exploding in glittering storms. Axel's enforcer, who'd been gripping her arm, took 3 bullets to the chest and dropped like a puppet with cut strings, his blood spraying hot across her face. Mary didn't think. She dove. The zip tie binding her wrists snapped as she slammed against the edge of her overturned kitchen table. Cheap plastic, thank God, and she scrambled on hands and knees through the chaos. Angels and Korean soldiers clashed in her tiny apartment like titans, bodies crashing through furniture, muzzle flashes illuminating twisted faces locked in primal rage. She crawled toward the bathroom, remembering the loose panel behind the toilet, the maintenance shaft she discovered during a late-night plumbing crisis. Her fingers found the edge, ripped it open, and she squeezed into the darkness just as a grenade detonated in her living room. The shaft was barely wide enough for her body, dust and rust coating her skin as she wedged herself deeper into the walls. Below, she could hear everything. Boots thundering, men screaming, orders being barked in Korean and English. Bratva informant sold Young's location. An angel's voice, panicked and fading. Volkov set this whole thing up, wanted both crews bleeding. A burst of gunfire cut him off forever. Mary's mind reeled. Bratva. Russian Mafia. This wasn't just 2 gangs. This was a 3-way war, and she'd stumbled into the epicenter. Then she heard Minho's voice, cold and commanding, cutting through the carnage. Find Young. Search every room, every vehicle. He's wounded, can't have gotten far. Sir, we've got nothing. Buildings clear except for bodies. Mary's breath caught. They didn't have Young either. Someone else had taken him, the Russians? Another player? Her mind raced through the blood trail to her window. The professional extraction while she slept. She made her decision in seconds. Mary crawled back through the shaft, emerging in the hallway as the firefight moved to the streets below. Minho stood surrounded by his soldiers, reloading with mechanical precision, his suit torn and bloodstained but his eyes still sharp and lethal. I know where to start looking, Mary said. 40 guns swung toward her. Minho's hand shot up, stopping the execution. Who the hell are you? Mary Brown. I saved Young's life last night. She stepped forward, hands raised but voice steady. I heard everything, the Bratva informant, the setup. I can help you find him. But I need something first. Minho's eyes narrowed. You're in no position to negotiate. My 5-year-old daughter is 2 doors down with an elderly woman. Hell's angels know about her. Mary's voice cracked but didn't break. Get them to safety. Somewhere untouchable. And I'll tell you everything Young said before they took him. Minho studied her for 3 seconds that felt like eternity. Then he turned to 2 women in tactical gear, lean, deadly, with faces that had seen too much death to fear anything. Suyun. Jia. Extract the child and the old woman. Take them to the sanctuary. Full protection detail. The women moved instantly, disappearing down the hall. Minho grabbed Mary's arm. Talk. Now. Mary opened her mouth, then her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered. A Russian accent purred through the speaker. Hello, Mary. We need to discuss your patient's future. If you're hooked on Mary's story and need to see what happens next, smash that like button and subscribe. Drop a comment below. Are you Team Mary? Let me know you're following along. The phone fell from Mary's trembling hand. Minho caught it midair, pressed it to his ear, but the Russian had already disconnected. His jaw clenched, a muscle twitching beneath the blood spatter on his cheek. Get her to the compound, he ordered. Now. 20 minutes later, Mary sat in a penthouse suite that looked ripped from a luxury magazine, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, marble floors, furniture that cost more than her yearly income. But her eyes were locked on the tablet screen showing live feed from the sanctuary. Amara playing with a stuffed unicorn, giggling as Mrs. Chen braided her hair, surrounded by armed guards who looked like they'd kill armies for that little girl. Safe. Her baby was safe. Minho paced like a caged predator, his lieutenants surrounding the glass table where Mary sat across from, impossibly, Axel. The Hell's Angels leader looked like he'd been dragged through hell, his face swollen and purple, but his eyes burned with something new, understanding. Talk, Minho commanded. Mary took a breath and laid it all out. Jung's injuries, the precision of the wounds, the way he'd whispered warnings in broken English about betrayal. He said, Volkov. I didn't understand then, but when I was hiding in the walls, I heard your men and the angels. The Bratva fed you both false intel. They wanted you destroying each other. Axel slammed his fist on the table. My brother's death was probably Bratva wearing Korean colors. Mary cut him off, her nurse's instinct for reading bodies catching the micro-expression that flickered across Minho's face. Am I right? Minho's silence was answer enough. The tattoo, Mary continued, her voice steadier now. When they took Jung through my window, I saw one of them. Forearm. Double-headed eagle with a crown. Russian prison tattoo. Minho's tech expert, a young woman named Hannah, typed furiously on her laptop. I'm scanning Bratva communications now. They're encrypted frequency, but we cracked it last month. Her face went pale. Jung's alive. Industrial warehouse, Port District. Execution scheduled for midnight. They're planning to live stream it. The clock on the wall read 4:47 p.m. 8 hours. Mary watched something shift in the room. The way Minho and Axel locked eyes. Decades of warfare suspended by a common enemy more dangerous than their hatred. Your men know the streets, Minho said slowly. My soldiers have the weapons and training. We go in separately, we're dead. Axel's scarred knuckles went white. You're asking for an alliance. I'm offering you revenge against the people who actually killed your brother. The tension stretched like piano wire ready to snap. Then Axel extended his massive hand. Minho gripped it. Mary's phone buzzed. Seoyun calling from the sanctuary. She answered and Amara's face filled the screen, eyes bright and innocent. Mommy. Mrs. Chen says I can have ice cream. There's a pool and everything. Tears burned Mary's eyes. Baby, I need you to be brave for me a little longer, okay? Mommy has to help some people, then I'm coming home. Promise. I promise. As the call ended, Minho turned to her. You've given us Jung's location. You're done. Stay here where it's safe. Mary stood, her voice granite. I'm the only one who knows his exact injuries, what he can survive, how to keep him alive during extraction. You need me. Minho studied her. This broken single mother who'd somehow become the axis on which a war turned. Gear up, he finally said. We leave in 30 minutes. Outside the window, the sun began its descent toward a blood-red horizon. Hannah's fingers flew across the keyboard, satellite imagery flooding the screen. A sprawling industrial complex near the port, rusted shipping containers stacked like metal dominoes, a central warehouse with reinforced doors and blacked-out windows. She zoomed in on the security contractor's logo stamped on the corner gate. Mary's blood turned to ice. Sentinel Security Solutions, Hannah read aloud. Private military contractor, known Bratva affiliate. I know. Mary's voice came out strangled, broken. My ex-husband works there. The room went silent. Minho's eyes locked onto her face, reading every micro-expression with the precision of a predator sensing wounded prey. Devon Brown, Mary continued, each word cutting like glass in her throat. Head of night security. He's the one who put me in the hospital 3 years ago. Broke 4 ribs, fractured my jaw, nearly killed me while I was pregnant. Then he reported me for stealing medication, his Vicodin addiction, got my nursing license revoked so I couldn't escape. Her hands shook but her voice steadied. He still sends messages. Tells me I'm his property. That Amara is his to take whenever he wants. Axel's expression shifted into something almost human. Jesus. Minho stood perfectly still, processing. Then he moved to the weapons cache, selected a compact Glock 19, and placed it on the table in front of Mary. "You don't have to do this," he said quietly. "You've given us everything we need. Stay here. Be with your daughter. Let us handle Devon and the Russians." Mary stared at the gun like it was a venomous snake. Her hands trembled as she reached for it, the metal cold and impossibly heavy. She thought of Amara's face on the video call, those innocent eyes that still believed her mother could fix anything. She thought of 3 years spent looking over her shoulder, jumping at shadows, teaching her baby girl to hide in closets when Mommy's phone buzzed with Devon's threats. She thought of the world she wanted to build, one where her daughter never learned to make herself small and invisible to survive. "Teach me," Mary said. Minho's expression flickered with something that might have been respect. He spent the next 20 minutes showing her the basics: grip, stance, sight alignment, breathing. Mary's first shot went wide, the recoil shocking through her shoulders. The second hit closer. By the 10th, her hands stopped shaking. "You won't be on the assault team," Minho explained. "You'll stay with the medical unit 30 yards back. But if anyone gets through to you..." "I won't hesitate," Mary finished. Outside, the Alliance was mobilizing, a sight that would have been impossible yesterday. 50 Korean Mafia soldiers in tactical black, moving with military precision. 100 Hell's Angels, raw muscle and street warfare experience, leather and chrome transformed into an army. They loaded into vehicles, checked weapons, the ancient enemies synchronized by a common hatred. Seo-Yun approached Mary, pressed something into her hand. A photo of Amara, laminated and small enough for a pocket. "For when it gets hard," the female operative said softly. "Remember why you're fighting." Mary tucked it against her heart. Minho's voice cut through the organized chaos. "We move in 1 hour. Jung's execution starts at midnight. We hit them at 11. Fast, brutal, overwhelming. No survivors who resist." He turned to Mary, something unreadable in his dark eyes. "Your ex-husband. If you see him..." "He's mine," Mary said. The convoy rolled out as the sun bled into the horizon, painting the sky the color of violence and rebirth. The warehouse loomed against the midnight sky like a tombstone, rusted metal and broken windows swallowing what little moonlight dared approach. Mary crouched behind the lead SUV, her hands wrapped around a medical kit that felt impossibly small against the violence about to erupt. Minho's soldiers moved like shadows, silenced pistols coughing death as they eliminated perimeter guards with surgical precision. "Clear," Seo-Yun whispered through the comms. Axel's Angels roared in behind them, motorcycles cutting engines a block out, heavy boots hitting pavement as they formed a secondary wall of muscle and firepower. The unlikely alliance held by threads of rage and necessity. Mary's stomach twisted. This warehouse, she knew it. Devon had dragged her here once during their marriage, some business meeting that had ended in screaming and blood. She remembered the layout, the security camera blind spots, the way sound echoed through the loading bays. "East entrance," she whispered to Minho. "Camera's been broken for years. Leads straight to the sub-basement stairs." His eyes locked on hers, unreadable. Then he nodded. They moved as one organism. 40 soldiers and Mary at the center, her scrubs replaced by tactical gear that hung loose on her frame. The sub-basement stairs descended into darkness that smelled of rust and old blood. Mary's heart hammered against her ribs. Then they found him. Jung hung from chains in the center of the room, his body a canvas of fresh brutality. Face swollen beyond recognition, ribs caved in, burn marks flowering across his chest. But worse was the vest strapped to his torso, red digital numbers counting down. 12 minutes. Mary's nurse instincts screamed before her brain caught up. Explosives. Everyone back. The ambush erupted from the walls themselves. Hidden panels exploded outward, Bratva soldiers pouring through like a flood of death. Automatic fire tore through the darkness, muzzle flashes illuminating faces twisted in killing fury. Minho's team returned fire with devastating precision, but bodies started dropping on both sides. Mary hit the ground, crawling through blood and spent shells toward Jung. A Korean soldier fell beside her, his throat opened by shrapnel. She grabbed his neck, applied pressure with one hand while dragging herself forward with the other. "Medic down," someone screamed. "I got it." Mary's voice cut through the chaos. muscle memory overriding terror as she stitched the soldier's artery with thread from her kit, hands steady despite the bullets chewing apart the concrete around her. She reached Jung as the timer hit 8 minutes. His eyes cracked open, those dark, infinite eyes that had found hers in the rain-soaked alley. Recognition flickered through the agony. "Mary," he whispered, her name a prayer on his broken lips. Her breath caught. He remembered. Through the torture, the drugs, the edge of death, he remembered her. "Stay with me," Mary commanded, fingers already tracing the vest's wiring. Red wire to black, yellow to green, but the pattern was wrong, deliberately scrambled. She'd seen Devon disarm explosives before during his criminal days, had memorized the basics out of pure survival instinct. 6 minutes. Minho appeared above her, firing controlled bursts into the Bratva forces. "Can you do this?" Mary's hands trembled over the wires. One wrong cut and they all died. "I have to." She chose the blue wire, whispered a prayer and cut. The timer stopped at 4 minutes 53 seconds. Then the lights went out and a voice echoed through speakers. "Did you really think it would be that easy?" The backup bomb activated somewhere above them. 30 seconds. Mary's hands moved on pure instinct, abandoning Jung's disabled vest to sprint toward the second bomb's location. The timer's electronic scream led her through the maze of industrial machinery, 30 seconds becoming 25, her boots pounding concrete as Minho's voice roared behind her to fall back. She found the device bolted to a support column, crude but devastating, enough C4 to collapse the entire structure. Her fingers traced the wiring with desperate precision, mind cataloging connections while death counted down. 15 seconds. Well. My ex-wife playing hero. Devon stepped from the shadows, Bratva soldiers flanking him, his security uniform replaced by tactical gear that screamed lieutenant-level authority. His face, the same face that had smiled before breaking her ribs, twisted with shock and rage as recognition hit him like a freight train. "Mary? What the hell are you?" His hand shot out, grabbing her throat and yanking her away from the bomb. "You stupid bitch, you're coming with." The gunshot cracked like thunder. Devon's shoulder exploded in a spray of blood and bone, Minho's sniper eliminating the threat with surgical precision from the catwalk above. Devon screamed, dropping Mary as he collapsed against the support column, clutching his ruined shoulder. 10 seconds. Mary dove back to the bomb, her hands finding the mercury switch, the same design Devon had once drunkenly explained while threatening to use it on her. She ripped the cold pack from her medical kit, crushed it against the device's casing, frost spreading across metal. 5 seconds. She cut the yellow wire. The red wire. Her hand steadied over the blue wire, the primary circuit. 3 seconds. The wire severed clean. The timer stopped at 0:02. Mary collapsed against the column, lungs burning, hands shaking so badly she could barely hold the wire cutters. Then Devon's good hand grabbed her ankle with vicious strength, his face a mask of hatred and pain. "You think you can just..." The chain struck Devon's face with bone-crushing force. Jung stood above them, barely, his body held together by rage and willpower alone, the broken chains from his wrists now weapons in his bloodied hands. He'd ripped free from the weakened restraints, every movement agony, but his eyes burned with something primal and protective. "Touch her again," Jung rasped in broken English, raising the chain for another strike, "and I'll kill you with my bare hands." Devon tried to scramble back, but Minho's soldiers were already on him, zip-tying his wrists with brutal efficiency. The building shuddered. Bratva reinforcements poured in from the upper levels. Dozens of soldiers rappelling through skylights, automatic weapons blazing. But they hadn't anticipated the combined force waiting for them. 100 Hell's Angels surged forward like a tidal wave of leather and fury while Korean soldiers picked off targets with devastating precision. The warehouse became a symphony of controlled chaos, Angels providing overwhelming force while Minho's team executed tactical strikes. The Bratva reinforcements fell in minutes, outmatched and overwhelmed. Buildings rigged to blow. Hannah's voice crackled through comms. Secondary charges throughout the foundation. 3 minutes. Minho grabbed Jung, supporting his weight. "Move. Everyone out." Mary ran, her medical kit abandoned, her only thought survival. They burst through the exit as the first charges detonated, the warehouse collapsing inward in a cascade of fire and twisted metal. She hit the pavement hard, covered in blood that wasn't all hers, lungs screaming for air. But alive. Minho appeared beside her, offering his hand. Your daughter's waiting. Let me take you home. The compound materialized through the SUV's windows like salvation. High walls, armed guards, and somewhere inside those gates, Amara sleeping peacefully, unaware her mother had just walked through hell. Mary closed her eyes, letting herself feel safe for the first time in 3 years. Behind them, sirens wailed toward the burning warehouse. Ahead, a new life waited. 3 weeks later, Mary stood in a bedroom larger than her entire former apartment, watching through floor-to-ceiling windows as Amara shrieked with laughter in the garden below. Her daughter chased butterflies through roses that cost more than Mary's yearly salary, guards positioned at every corner like silent sentinels who'd burn the world before letting harm touch that little girl. Jung sat on a marble bench nearby, his ribs still wrapped in bandages beneath his silk shirt, smiling as Amara brought him dandelions like they were diamonds. The brutal dragon of the Korean Mafia, feared across 3 states, carefully tucking flowers behind a 5-year-old's ears. Mary's chest tightened with something she didn't recognize. Safety. Peace. Something dangerously close to hope. Your daughter has good taste in flowers. Minho's voice came from the doorway. He held an envelope, thick, official. Harvard Medical School received an anonymous donation large enough to fund 10 students. Your acceptance letter arrived this morning. Full scholarship. Mary's hands trembled as she took it. The nursing license she'd lost, the career Devon had destroyed, the future she'd buried under survival. All of it suddenly possible again. Why? She whispered. Because you saved more than Jung that night. You saved all of us. Minho's expression softened. The angels in our crew, we formed a coalition. Axel sends his regards. Says any woman brave enough to negotiate between armies while zip-tied deserves respect from every soldier in this city. That evening, Jung found her on the balcony, the city lights spreading below like fallen stars. His movements were still careful, each breath a reminder of how close death had come. He stood beside her, silent for a long moment. Why did you save me? His voice was quiet, stripped of the command that usually filled it. You had nothing to gain. Everything to lose. Mary remembered that night. The rain, the blood, those dying eyes that had mirrored her own desperation. I saw myself in you. Someone the world tried to destroy who refused to die. I couldn't walk away from that. Jung turned to face her, his hand reaching up to trace the faint scar on her cheek, the mark Axel's backhand had left. You're not invisible anymore, Mary Brown. You command respect from men who kneel to no one. You united enemies. You saved kingdoms. His fingers moved to her chin, tilting her face up. Mary didn't flinch. For the first time in years, a man's touch didn't trigger the screaming memories of Devon's fists. Stay, Jung whispered. Not as someone I owe. As someone I choose. Mary's breath caught as he leaned closer, his lips brushing hers with surprising gentleness. A question, not a demand. She answered by closing the distance, kissing him back with the fierce hunger of someone who'd forgotten she was allowed to want anything. Below, Amara played safely in a garden protected by armies. Above, Mary finally allowed herself to feel something other than fear. But across the city, in a penthouse draped in black silk, Katerina Volkov watched security footage of Jung's compound on a dozen screens. The Bratva leader's widow traced her finger across Mary's face on the monitor, her smile cold as winter in Moscow. So this is the little nurse who destroyed my husband's empire, she purred in Russian. Let's see how brave she is when I take everything she loves. She pressed a button. 20 assassins materialized from the shadows behind her. The war wasn't over. It had only just begun. What an intense journey. But Mary's story isn't over yet. Katerina and her assassins are coming, and the real war is about to begin. If you need to know what happens next, you absolutely cannot miss the next video. Hit subscribe and turn on that notification bell so you'll hear the moment part 2 drops. Drop a like if this story had you on the edge of your seat and comment below. Did Mary make the right choice? Where are you watching from? Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you in the next one where the stakes get even deadlier. Don't miss it.